Hi folks, it's that time of the month again, and I have another Visionary Realms legend with me today. We have lead programmer Kyle Olsen, who's part of the programming team. Kyle, great to have you on with us, mate.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
All right, so Kyle is one of currently 3 programmers. We have Kyle's the lead programmer. We've got Robert Crane, senior programmer, and Todd Curtis is one of our programmers as well. We've got a lot of great members on our team, so we're going to start highlighting everyone from the topic, the category that we discuss, and today is programming. So without further ado, I will jump right into the first question for you guys, which is not a question, but I'm going to read it anyway. I don't know anything about programming. I recently researched the difference between hard coding and programming. That's how little I know. So I don't know how to ask any good questions, but I'm excited to listen and learn. So thank you very much for that. The next question is, game developing can be a tiring process. What do you do to stop from burning out?
I have other projects that I like to work on, especially on the weekends. Funny enough, most of them relate back to Pantheon in some way, but it's a way that I like to recharge my batteries by working on something that I personally have a big investment in. Sometimes your normal work tasks aren't necessarily what you want to do. Some like UI need to be implemented or something more mundane. So for me, I'll either full on take a break, do video games or something like that, or work on something that I find fun.
That's good, man. That's an important question too. Especially with all industries, but I know the game industry in particular, there's such a high workload that goes on for so many years. Like the amount of burnout and interchange between staff and roles is crazy. I don't think people quite understand the load that we have to take on.
And a lot of the time now we'll have like mini crunches too, where it's not just one big crunch time towards the end of a project like people might be expected to see. You get these little agile sprints where you crunch more or less constantly. It's not constant, but it's these smaller, more frequent crunch times that really take a lot out of you.
They really do. They're very taxing. So it's so important to have something to switch off to and to go to your happy place, something that you can de-stress and just chill and deal with.
That's my Fridays.
That's it, man.
My raid night.
That's exactly right, man. So you could lose yourself in something and have fun. But yeah, that was a good question. Okay, so another disclaimer that they're not a programmer, but they want to know if player interactions in the game world are handled primarily by the server side, client side, or what sort of rough percentage of each?
Yeah, so I mean, virtually everything is server side in a game like this. We just can't risk exposing anything client side. So virtually everything in the game is event based. So client says something like, I would like to do this, and then the server says, okay, or the server says, no, you're not in a state that's valid. So everything is authoritative and validated.
Perfect. At what rate is the targeted client side information refreshed? 2 seconds, 6 seconds, etc.
It depends on what you're talking about. Like I said, a lot of it is event based. So there is a server side tick rate that is at 20 ticks per second, but a majority of the data is being sent back via event. So there are some things like positions that are updated at a fixed rate. So if things are around you are moving, then you're seeing them move at that 20 tick rate. But a vast majority of things, in fact, are not tied to that tick rate. They're event based. So as soon as it happens, that event happens, and then it propagates to everyone that can see the event. So it's not really directly tied to that tick rate. So it's variable in a way.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty interesting. So in an attempt to minimize client bandwidth, is the primary information passed to the client based on relative location of the player and possible fixed radius?
Yeah, so there's interest management systems. Each player is tracked by the server. You can think of like a bubble around them. Anything in that bubble that they can see, anything outside of it will be despawned, and they won't receive updates for. That's pretty standard.
So the second part of this question, like if so, does the type of information change the radius, sound versus visuals?
So there are things that are outside of that bubble. So for example, if I whisper you and I'm outside of your bubble, it will still go through. Or if I do a group invite, there are things that skirt around those limitations, but a majority of the information is what we call scoped in that.
Perfect, man. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, a nice personal question. What made you want to get into developing games?
Let's see.
Tough one.
Quake 3 was probably the biggest influence directly into getting into modding and development from there. That being said, I didn't know that I wanted to be a programmer for a long time. I got into game development intending to do level design, level scripting. Like I wanted to be like a John Romero. I wanted to make levels and I wanted to make cool stuff and put secrets in there. And then I got into scripting and into programming and realized that level design kind of sucked and I sucked. I wasn't an artist. So there was that too. That's probably initially what got me into it though, was Quake. All of the Quake engine games, at least. The very first Call of Duty, Quake 3, Team Arena, Jedi Knight, Outcast, Academy, those kinds of games. All of those Quake engine games definitely sparked my interest.
Yeah, nice, man. Good stuff. So, following on with that, what is your favorite thing about being a developer for Pantheon?
Freedom, man. I get a lot of programming freedom to implement things how I think they should be implemented, especially since I came on. There was a lot of refactoring and you could consider like bulletproofing of a lot of the code. We needed to improve robustness and remove crashing and get rid of all these little bugs that had been plaguing the project for a long time. That's really cool. Having that level of freedom to architect and develop frameworks for other people to work in is probably my favorite part of programming, no matter what project.
Yeah, nice, man. That sounds fun. Okay, so a couple of questions broken up. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience in diagnosing and cleaning up code? Like, what type of games have you helped with this process before in the past? And is there any unique challenges that present themselves when looking at an MMORPG in particular?
Yeah, so two questions, sort of. The first one being there, that's the cleanup and how was it worded? What was the beginning of the question again?
Your experience
diagnosing and cleaning up?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's what I've done for a long time, actually. It was more for mobile side. I would do contract work where a team would have a game probably 90-ish% done, and they were trying to optimize or get these last bugs that they couldn't figure out. Maybe the team was a little inexperienced or the project that they were making was too big for them, and they would contract out that last 10% that they can't get done to an outside team, or me in this case, and I would come in and just try and optimize and figure out the issues that have been plaguing them the whole project. So I do have some experience in that. That being said, it was more mobile for me personally. But the unique challenges for Pantheon are very different than what I had to face for the mobile side of things in terms of that cleanup and project diagnosis, because it is a significantly larger project. We've removed, I'm not sure if I should even say it, but we've removed hundreds of thousands of lines of code.
A lot, yeah.
Since I've joined. I've probably removed more code than I've written, just in terms of cleanup. Like the frameworks that we're putting in place are a lot more terse. They're smaller and succinct. They're more succinct. They get the same amount done, but with a lot less code. So at the end of the day, I'm deleting a lot more than I'm adding when it comes down to it.
Yeah, they know about our cleanups and stuff too. We've spoken about that in the latest director's stream and the director's letter. And yeah, Ben Dean went over a lot of that stuff too. How we have cut back and moved from hard code to making changes now to move forward.
That's a big part of it too. Like you said, the hard coding adds a lot of lines of code.
Yeah,
you just have a lot of data to find things that designers should be tweaking in maybe your database data. We would have a few hundred lines of data definitions for just to load in how this NPC should be, for example. So you end up cutting down a lot of code doing that.
Yeah, which is awesome. And following up on that, You've said mobile for games in the past. Is there any unique challenges that present themselves when looking at an MMORPG in particular, other than the size?
Well, the netcode is a challenge. I think one of the other things is cheating. So, like I was saying, for server-side authoritative, you can do a networked game that's more like co-op, where you don't care quite as much. So you could do a networked game where you allow the client to have some authority, and things become magically very easy. You remove that barrier of having the server be in control of everything. You allow the client to control his own position and click the buttons and save his own state. All that stuff is all good. MMOs are majorly different beasts in that regard. You can't let the client do anything, or they will exploit it.
That's exactly right, man. With hacking, gold farming, and bots, and you name it.
Yeah. Imagine if the client had control over their stats. You go in there and you type in 4,000 stamina.
That's it. It's like cheat CC or something. Just get into it, change whatever you want to change, go around beast mode and clear dungeons by yourself and all that stuff. Annoying.
A safer way to think about it is just, if something is on the client, assume that it has already been modified. That's how you have to assume the game is. Like, it, if this thing can be modified, imagine that it already is. That the client has already put in 1 million for this number. What happens? Anything? If something happens, you've designed it wrong.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's interesting to look at. So people can try and inject whatever they want and tell the server to do whatever they want. The server's got to be either smart enough or just optimized enough to say, no, that's not what I know. Can't happen.
Yep.
Okay, so you talked about driving almost 40% more performance out of the netcode back in April 2019, and that the networking side was handling a majority of the workload, allowing the CPU to sort of laugh at the processing power needed. Can you go more into depth on this and what having this free CPU space, as well as the overall load the network cards can now handle, means when it comes to player experience in Pantheon, perhaps in relation to what it can do for the feel of combat or player control?
Yeah, so put some perspective on this. What those tests were testing were not necessarily how much a client can load. So yes, we've optimized our servers to the point where we can have hundreds of thousands of simultaneously moving network objects, but that doesn't change the fact that a player still has a limited amount of bandwidth that they can receive. So if you're on like a DSL connection, we're limited to maybe 1 or 2 meg down, which is a lot. But just to put it in perspective, this doesn't mean that we're going to be pulling out some game-changing number of entities never before seen on screen. It just means that our servers will be able to be less powerful than they were previously and pump the same amount of data through them that they were. So what that means for us is less money that we have to spend overall to deliver the same kind of experience to the players. Another way of putting it is our servers are network bound now, as opposed to being CPU bound as they were before. So we could have this demo scene running with, I believe it was 140,000 in the yellow demo scene. I'd need to go verify that again. I can't remember exactly. Roughly 140,000 simultaneously moving networked objects were, before the update, maxing out our CPU. So you could, if you pulled up like your task manager on the server side, it didn't have that, but the equivalent, you would see the CPU maxed out at 100%. All cores pegged, no more room for more AIs to be added, anything like that. Now, the CPU was running around 50-ish% on that same machine, but we were maxing out the network card. So it was a 1,000 megabit network card. So that means we're pumping the computer to its limit in terms of data, but it's not to its limit on the CPU anymore. It's to its limit on bandwidth, which is a much better place to be in, because we have room to add more AIs now if we wanted to, and throttle back how fast we're sending that data, or that the send rate of all of those 140,000 objects. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, nice. That does.
Cool.
Good stuff, man. Good explanation.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to follow on with the questions that I hassled you about. You need a nickname. We have Jopper, Mikhail, Combo, Talk, Ronick, Sacred, and many more, etc. So what should we call you?
Well, one of my characters that I play a lot on WoW is named EG. It's like the two letters E and G, but it's spelled like that. I spaced it out. I made a really obnoxious game, or an obnoxious name in WoW, because I used to have a name that was all accented characters. So they had little funny symbols and stuff, and somebody reported the name, and the GM made me change it. So I tried to think of another annoying name that would be hard to read, but with legit characters.
Gotcha. That's cool. EG. We could do that.
EG. Yeah. EG. I am that guy. Yeah.
And for those people who can't see, it's I-J-I. EG. To spell EG. Cool. And choppers. E.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, in the past, you've said you wanted a dumb game client and nearly everything handled on the back end for both security and anti-cheating reasons. Is this still the case with the reworked code? If not, what has changed?
We touched on it a little bit, but yeah, it still is. It's not. That's sort of a way to think about networked games, where a dumb game client would truly be, and this is more in the Quake style, where I have a mouse state and I have a keyboard state. I have a number of keys held down at any given time. I've got how much I move my mouse in the frame. I've got a left click button. I've got a right click button. You could consider that your input, right? That's the only thing that the client can do is press some keys and move the mouse and send that data to the server. And then the server plays the character with that input, if that makes sense. So the client presses W and takes a step forward, but that doesn't actually happen on the client until that W gets received by the server. The server does the movement and then sends the result back down to the client. That's a dumb client, where I'm literally playing my character over the internet on the server. And then there's a lot of black magic that makes it feel like there's no lag. There's no delay between me hitting W and seeing the W move on or seeing the character move on the screen. That is a true dumb client. That's not quite possible in an MMO, because it requires a lot of server-side processing to do a full client simulation for thousands of players at the same time. So yes, that is the idea, but in an MMO, you can't make it a 100% pure dumb client. You have to have some client control that is then verified by the server, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Good stuff, man. Okay, so with the changes made, is it going to be easier to make a Linux client? I would happily donate hundreds of hours to help test and debug it. I also have a crap ton of hardware we can use for system requirements testing.
As far as I know, there's no reason that we can't deliver a Linux and Mac client right now. It's just a matter of testing and engineering resources. We might take you up on that in terms of testing.
Nice. Also, how fast can we roll out new classes now with all these updates and changes that we've made? Keeping in mind it comes down to resources too. It's not just magically click our fingers and a class appears. There's a lot of work from a lot of different people that go into one.
Kind of what's happened more recently. I also don't know if this counts as timelines, but the Rogue and the Wizard just recently got built from scratch. So the Rogue got built to probably 90 to 95% completeness in 2 weeks from scratch. The Wizard is not as built up as the Rogue is yet, but it was even less time than that. We can get them online pretty quickly now. The ability system, the buff system, it's all node graphs. I actually didn't even know, but CP and Tyler put together a lot of the Wizard without me at all. They just used the tools that were there and the Wizard appeared. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, nice. Good stuff. We probably shouldn't have told them that. Now they're going to ask for like Beast Lords and all these different classes and know that we can do it in 2 weeks. So we get under the pump.
That's not to say that we can whip out a class in 2 weeks, period. We had the Rogue doc done. We had a lot of the VFX done already. We knew where the class needed to go. So that was 2 weeks of me having all of that and sitting down and developing the missing pieces of the ability tooling to make it work. But I mean, it's fast, and the more classes that we get in, and the more abilities that we can do, the less intervention that I need to have when we add a new class, because we have that functionality done, and the designers can just jump in there in the tools and start making new abilities.
Damn, that kind of ruins my whole joke of not having enough time to do the Necro and the Bard, so we're going to combine them into a Necrard and make our own little kind of unique class, but they're onto us now. All right, so moving on to the next question. Is or will there be anything done for colorblind community members? So it goes on to say, yeah, in most games, anything that important is always in red. We that are vision impaired seem to have no quarter, and we die never seeing that message. So it's all about contrast. The whole black and white, red and a white background would work, or a limited color palette. So would we have any kind of accessibility or options like that for people who are colorblind or deaf or anything?
I'm
like that?
Probably the wrong person to ask this, honestly. We don't have a dedicated UX person yet, so user experience or UI flow person at all. So a lot of the stuff that we have is either gray box or actually programmer art, like literally that I made,
Gotcha.
like the nameplates or something like that. So I'm probably not the right person to ask for this one. I would expect so, because even in my WoW guild, we have somebody that's actually colorblind, not just different shades, but black and white colorblind. And we have to, in some fights like Mechatork, we had to, instead of saying red, blue, yellow, green for the icons, it's part of the fight, no point in explaining it, but we had to say what the icon was, like screws and bolts or the chicken thing, or because we couldn't say the colors. So
yeah, cool.
We should have something like that.
Yeah, cool.
In my opinion.
Anyway, yeah. Look, in this modern age too, I think it's fairly common to include, a basic set of something like this. So we'll have a look into what we can do for our player base. All right, so this person is a comp sci student, so computer science, for those that don't know the terms, and am currently taking a course in discrete structures / discrete math. How frequently in game dev would you say this type of knowledge comes in handy?
Discrete math, I think, comes more in handy for optimized algorithms. So graph-based algorithms especially would probably be the biggest use that I know of. That being said, day-to-day use, probably not nearly as much as you would get out of linear algebra.
Yeah,
cool. Just vector math, and that's where you'll get your bread and butter daily use for game development, in my opinion.
Yeah, nice, man. So when you encounter a problem in your coding, what's your preferred creative thinking process to get out of your head and find the best solution?
I'll shut all my lights off. Pitch black room, middle of the night. Well, it's always middle of the night for me. I'm kind of nocturnal in that way, but I'll just lay on my couch, pitch black, and literally think about the code. Like, I will try to program in my head on the couch in black, in the black. Maybe listen to a little bit of music, but that's my unwind pretty much. If I get stuck on something, I'll either try and play a game and not think about it, or I will get away from the computer and think about nothing else.
That's cool, man. I like that. Okay, so I'm actually going to try that for some of my problems that come up from. It's a good idea.
It's nice.
Yeah.
You start thinking about you'll. It's almost like I don't know if you've tried any meditation, but once your mind wanders from the thing that you're trying to think about, you just kind of like snap back into it.
Yeah.
Try and keep it as the focus as best you can. Yeah.
I've done a little bit of that meditation. It's challenging. It's not as easy as people think to keep yourself focused on just your breathing or something, so simple. Your mind always just goes a million miles an hour. So if you can control that, it's actually very handy to help with, problem solving or, dealing with something.
For sure.
Okay, so what feature of Pantheon are you most excited to implement?
So I like the networking. I started working on the network library that we are/will be using, depending on the context. Before I even started here, it was something that I was doing in my free time anyway. That's like I said, I like frameworks. I like the big picture stuff for programming. I like to build the things that other people build the things with. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So networking for me is big. We've got some really, really cool net tools now that we've developed in-house that other people are also interested in, believe it or not. So it's exciting. That's my favorite part of the project for sure, is the netcode.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, so this person's talking about benchmarks and 1080, 1440p, 4K, different hardware setups, blah blah blah. We will probably do something like that, or not probably. We may do something like that in the future when we're closer to shipping the game. But I think at the moment it's a little bit out of our kind of reach. But they go on to ask, will Pantheon use DX11, or are we switching to a more modern APIs like Vulkan or DX12 upon launch?
Very likely to stick with DX11 for the near future, short of there being, as the new 3000 series cards permeate more, we'll potentially see. But the performance difference between DX11 and DX12 right now is kind of bad. In a lot of cases, you'll lose performance on DX12. Vulkan, not so much. We'll have to experiment with that a little bit more. I'm not sure what Vulkan would look like for us right now. DX12 is not a good choice for us at the moment. No, it's just performance loss in almost all cases.
Some of the more recent games that I've played too, like even single player, where I've got a pretty decent system that I built myself, can handle almost anything. But flipping it to DX12, you start to see big drops and stuttering, and it struggles in some places. Which is, I usually end up just switching back to DX11 if I have that option.
Yeah. I think DX11 is the best bet for now. It's a mature API that has seen. It's seen a lot of games, and it's seen console use. It's seen everything that we would want out of it. Like, we don't have a reason to switch. It's good performance. That's right. Yeah. There's nothing on the other side that is pulling us over.
That's it. And if it works so well and there's no tangible upgrade to moving on to DX12, then there's no reason for us to try to do something like that.
Mushy makes a good point in the chat. For a Mac or a Linux build, we would have to switch. That is very true. And OpenGL would be what we would use on Linux.
Gotcha. Good point. Good catch, Mushy. All right, so will there be room for add-ons? And if so, to what extent? This is also, we've kind of chatted a little bit about this. We haven't gone into too much detail. And obviously we've talked about the server and the client side and how they talk. Add-ons in DPS meters and things like that, aggro meters and everything like that, we're not really sure on. We haven't really given a firm answer. They just want to know, maybe from your point of view, is it possible?
Oh God, yes. We've talked about it a bit already. Actually, I probably shouldn't talk too much publicly about it because we have a couple different ways that we want to go, and I shouldn't commit to one or the other publicly yet. But that being said, whichever way we go, add-ons are something that are necessary for the UI. Gotcha. We've also talked about skinning, not just add-ons.
That would be cool. And look, add-ons too in the context, some people like them, some people hate them. We will have our original UI, which people are going to be, that will be stock standard default. You use that. Mm-hmm. Any kind of add-ons you will have to go out of your way to go and put something on or add it to the game. So if you don't like that kind of stuff, don't do it. For others that do it, they may get a little bit of advantage with aggro meters and DPS meters, but these typically are people that are invested many hours, hundreds of hours, thousands of hours into raiding and min-maxing. So they're not your competition or someone you should ever worry about. So I think that choice will be yours and yours alone, and it won't affect your experience.
I think there's a good case to be made to say what should be an add-on and what shouldn't be as well. So do we allow hooking into APIs that we develop for add-ons? It's like, how much do we want to support it? Do we allow them to do network communication like in WoW, where you can develop pretty sophisticated add-ons? Like you can do a lot. You can do full-on programming for the most part. It's painful programming, but it's possible.
Add-ons actually tell you what to do, like move here, get out of the way, all that stuff.
They have restricted it a bit, like you can't do 3D rendering in an add-on and something like that. But there could be a discussion there where we drastically limit, in fact, what an add-on could even do. Or the other side of it, maybe there are things that we bring into native, things that you might consider an add-on normally we maybe just build in-house and allow it to be a part of the default UI so that you don't have as many things that you need to download if you're going to be in a high-end rating guild. Maybe we just support it. Who knows?
Yeah, right. That's fair enough.
There's still a lot up in the air for add-ons. It's not something that we're focused on. UI in general, in fact, is just not something that we focused heavily on.
Yeah, cool. And obviously we'll use the testing phases later on in alpha and beta to fine-tune these things and see how they impact the community and our servers and stuff like that too. So we can make changes as needed before we launch. All right, are we planning to have some sort of mobile companion app?
Oh, I can't speak to that, I don't think.
We talked a long time about something like this with nothing concrete, but that it was something we were thinking about and possibly, in the future. But we haven't really made any kind of public headway on that yet. It's still internal developing a chat, so it's not really something we can talk about.
Got to remember, I'm the guy that I sit in the corner of the dark room and I program. Like I miss lots of meetings. I'm not involved in the high-end discussions of these things for the most part. Sometimes I am, depending on what it is, but yeah, I'm the guy that's the nerd out in the corner getting stuff done.
I like it, man. All right, so is there any roadmap for out-of-game services, such as, again, phone apps? And if so, any particulars we can share about the vision? Other than phone apps, which we can't really go too deep into because we haven't really discussed that much ourselves. It's not really a priority right now, or we're in late stages of pre-alpha testing. But other than out-of-app services or out-of-game services, other than our store, which we just sell merchandise from, I don't think there's anything else that we actually have at this point in time.
Not at least that we've talked about, I don't think.
No, I don't think we do. We've got the store, which we're revamping again to put back out, but that's just t-shirts and mugs and stuff for a bit of extra kind of support for the game. It's nothing that's going to help for in-game. And yeah, game services like phone apps, not really sure yet. But, we talked about linking lore and stuff to the app and potential character kind of stuff, but we've still got nowhere on that just yet.
There's been some talk about social integrations and things, not necessarily like Facebook integration, but social features for our game, and I think that would be a good match as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so last question on the forums before we go into live chat. Do you envision there being output client-side combat logs? Will they write in lifetime? In live time? If so, or will they output complete combat into a log after it finalizes?
So everything right now is real time. As you receive a combat message that is logged in real time, there's no waiting for the end of the fight or anything. And I don't expect that to change.
Yeah, cool.
GMs do get a recap at the end of a fight saying how much damage everyone did, or admins, I should say. I don't think just GMs do, but just a recap to say like how much DPS someone did, how much damage total they did, and all that stuff, just for balancing sake. But everything else is completely real time for each player.
Nice. I think that was from Pantheon Plus, so I'm not sure. That may have been towards combat passes or something. But yeah, I think this goes back to add-ons and stuff like that to be able to log combat passes and stuff like that for guilds that want to track their damage and everything.
Yeah, there's nothing for parsing at the moment.
Okay, so that was the preloaded questions from the forum, and we're about 35 minutes in, so we've still got a bit to go, and we'll switch over to the forums now. So can you guys please tag me at Kilsin if you want to have a question, just so I can see it highlighted and I can read it to Kyle. All right, first one. It sounds like a lot of work has been done around Rogue and Wizard lately. What other classes have some new build coming up? Oh, this is careful territory.
Enchanter's next.
Yeah, nice. Cool. There's a bean for you. Will Pantheon integrate easily with AWS at this point?
We already are.
Nice and easy. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, and Neff respectfully disagrees about the add-on usage, that it impacts gameplay, leads to stratification and the community, and overtime toxicity. Look, it is a touchy subject. I think when we look at this kind of thing, we'll have to take a lot of things into account, but again, it's going to be something that we go through testing with. We're not going to know until we actually put it into action in an enclosed, controlled environment before it goes live. So if we see stuff like that getting out of hand, Kyle and the team can limit things on our end so it doesn't display that kind of information, or we can control what goes in, what goes out with add-ons and things like that too. So that's something we will definitely take community feedback on and monitor as we go through the testing phases. Dropper wants to buy more time, not in meetings.
Yeah,
I think he's
I agree, Joppa.
Very busy man. Is there talk or pressure around Twitch integration at this point?
Not that I'm familiar with.
No, me either.
We've done, I have done Twitch integrations for several games though. So if the time comes, I don't know if this is known, but I was a Twitch streamer on the science and technology area before game development went away on Twitch and it got rolled into the IRL / just chatting stuff. I've got a full streaming setup, so we built a bot for the stream, in fact, and people could play a game by typing things into the chat that would show up on screen and all that stuff. So yeah, we can do tons of Twitch integration, no problem.
That's cool, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of people streaming Pantheon when it goes live, so stuff like that would actually be pretty cool.
For sure.
Something we can look into. Okay, Kilsin was thinking more like things that hook into the world while you're not in it. Maybe even just stats on a website. For mobile app, I think he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're possible. Man.
Having sort of a character armory would be really cool. Being able to see your character with all their stats and their gear and all that, and chat with your guild, all that. Yeah, I personally think that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Like a lore section for things you've collected in game can show up in the app, so you can read lore and things when you're away from the game and not so kind of pressured to move on or do something with a group. You can then go back on your phone and have a look through what the things you collected, things like that. We've talked about, which would be cool, but they're just kind of in thinking phases at the moment.
Yeah, lots more to do before we get to stuff like that.
Absolutely. Minus is just following up with: will there be a client-side report?
As in reporting another player?
I think it's more to do with data damage.
Oh, okay. This is the end of a fight. Combat report. Okay, yeah. No, that's just an admin thing right now. I think that was what we were talking about.
Yeah, cool. I think he's asking, will there ever be in the future for something like that for the players? But I don't think that's really decided yet. This is just more for balancing, for testing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But Minus, you can definitely give us that feedback on the testing forums, mate. We can have a look at it.
Maybe we need a native damage meter.
There you go. If we build our own, there won't be a need for a third-party one.
Mm-hmm.
Will Pantheon integrate easily with AWS at this point? And we've already said that it already is.
Yep.
What do you anticipate the eventual transition from PA to alpha to mean for you? So this is for you, Kyle, not me. For me, it's going to be a lot of community work, but for Kyle, it's going to be very different. He's going to be under the pump. So PA to alpha, just for the general public, is increase in players and testers by quite a large amount, which means a large amount more volume of data and reports and that coming in. So the entire team will be under an increased workload. But for Kyle specifically, what would that do for you, man?
I honestly don't think that I'll be able to tell a difference. For me, I don't think that my workload will change too much because I'm a bit removed from the players and the day-to-day happenings of what's going on. I'm focused on my ticket log, bugs, and new features and programming. And I don't think that that's not going to just magically go away from being in front of me when we transition from PA to alpha. I'm still going to have lots of stuff to do. Those tickets and things that I'm working on might change a bit, but fundamentally, I think it'll feel very similar to what it is now for me personally. I don't think there will be a big change on my day-to-day.
Yeah, nice, man. Very humble.
That's going to be everyone else's job. All the community, like you said, your job is going to change quite a bit.
Yes.
I'm still just going to be bug squashing and feature developing.
But at a high level. Like Cole's been very humble,
exactly.
But his workload is extremely high. He works his ass off. Does a great job for us too. All right, so Typical combat passes use log file facilities. Are we likely to see output to log file as standard for cheat/combat messaging?
Very likely, yeah. At the moment, it's completely in memory. There's no physical log file being written to disk. I see that changing.
Yeah, cool. So Twitch integration, we've already answered this, man. It's possible, and Kyle actually has worked on things in the past and streamed himself, so it is definitely something he can help us with if we want to take that path. And probably closer to, alpha, beta, when there's a lot more people testing and we do open it up to streamers and start the streaming program, then it's something we can look at. But again, it's resources, man. We don't want to take anyone away from what they're doing at the moment to focus on stuff like that. Is VR looking at Microsoft Seal or other FHE frameworks and its potential application in the client/server communication stack?
This is an encryption question, I believe.
I'm sure.
And if that's an encryption question, then encrypting real-time UDP data is a fool's errand, in my opinion.
That one is way over my head. I'm just but a simple community manager.
There's short of login and initial passing of information back and forth, encrypting general UDP game data is not something you would usually do in a video game, at least.
Gotcha. Okay, so have you, in brackets, Kyle, e.g., taken someone new to game dev under your wing?
Ever?
I think so. Yeah, it's an open-ended question.
Yeah, a couple times. Not professionally, but friends that have wanted to get into it.
Yeah, cool.
Do like weekend crash courses and stuff, yeah.
Nice, man. I'm so tempted to change your name to EG right now on the VIP server.
That's fun.
Make it stick. All right, so let's go to the next question. We've got a few more here, which is fantastic. What is your biggest concern/challenge going forward?
Whew. Deep.
Yeah, very deep. Probably
concern. Well, we have an unbelievable amount of art to do. And this sort of dives into finances, so I can't talk too much about it. But
yeah,
we just have an
ungodly
amount of art to do.
Art and world building and that kind of stuff is very time intensive. And more money for us means hiring more people in those areas to help us get through a bit faster. But it's not going to change the quality of the work. We've got our design flow and what we want in mind. It's just basically getting good skilled people in seats to be able to help us with that kind of stuff, and more money will make that happen.
Yep. It's a matter of scale at this point. Like we can develop high quality stuff slowly, but just have to scale up to meet the I can't talk about this actually. Deadlines and finances, all that stuff.
Exactly. All that good stuff.
Yeah.
So this name's catching, man. They like it. EG, spelled E-E-G-E-E, said he listens to music to relax. What kind of music?
Oh man, so much. It's almost embarrassing, but I listen to lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff. Pretty much anything but country and maybe K-pop.
That's about the same as me, man. Anything from normal radio music to pop to gangster rap to heavy metal to techno to trap music, anything. I've got such a wide variety. I think growing up, I'm 43 in about a week or so, and I think that age group that was so influential back then with so many different genres that I was just open to everything. And it's kind of whatever was cool at the time. There was so many coming through that I don't mind listening to pretty much anything. But yeah, if country doesn't really grab me, classical is
same.
Not really my thing. But yeah, there's not really much else that I don't listen to. All right, so here is how is pre-project Firthal and post-project Firthal affect development of this game?
I can't really answer that. I've only been here a little over a year. Project Firthal was in full swing when I joined the team,
which is a game changer for us too. So that was Project Firthal. Is basically we wanted to make that a fully complete zone to show off everything that we have and that we're capable of doing, almost everything, not everything, but we want to put everything into that kind of zone to give a good taste, a good sample of what the game's going to be like going forward. And the team have done an amazing job to get it to where it is, and yeah, I'm really excited to see the fully released results when we move forward. So for Kyle, how much do you get into database design in terms of the code you're working on? Are you thinking about the data structures that need to be in the database, or are you partnering with other folks on that aspect?
Yeah, we've refactored a large part of the application runtime code, server side and client side refactor that we've been doing involves refactoring the database layout as well. So it's hand in hand.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I've had pretty much full control over the new tables that have gone in to match the runtime data. We're using lightweight ORM now to map all that data down, as opposed to hand-rolled SQL queries, which might make people cringe. Yes, we had hand-rolled SQL queries. it's gone. Lots of stuff. Yep.
Beautiful, man. How difficult is anti-cheat development, and what is testing that like?
It's not something on the forefront right now. We're just designing the game to be authoritative first. So there are things that can be hacked, like you can spoof your Windows time to be a lot faster, to give yourself like a speed hack. I probably even shouldn't say this because people can do it, but we can easily detect it. So, I mean, we can ban your account, no problem. There's stuff like that we can do. But for the most part, the way that you make a game anti-cheat or add anti-cheat to a game is make it authoritative. And that's what we're doing.
That's it. I remember this discussion. Like, I played a lot of CSGO, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and there's a lot of people in there with aimbots and stuff like that, detection through walls and everything. And a big discussion came up between a lot of programmers and people that make them and people that try to fight against them. And it's almost impossible. Like, they're always changing and so hard. Unless you had a really intrusive anti-cheat that was installed on
even then
my system, I can still get around that if I was smart enough and knew what I was doing. So it's almost virtually impossible. It's like cat and mouse. That's
exactly
never ending.
It's the way that you can think of it is you have something like VAC, which is the anti-cheat system, and you've got the hacks itself. Whoever updated last wins.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So essentially, as long as the hackers, well, I know they have been, shutting down or stopping their hacks until the server's updated, then they internally test and then release it again, and just to continue cat and mouse like that, which is
for CS:GO, it's extremely matured to the point, like you said, there's a cheat client that you pay monthly for to get access to. You have a login info, a login and password. You open that before you open CS:GO. You type in your information, and then you hit the update button. And if they updated more recently, it'll let you play the game with cheats. If VAC updated more recently, it'll say, warning, don't use cheats.
That's it, man.
It's really sophisticated at this point.
That's crazy. I've never used one myself, but I was just extremely frustrated having them used against me when I got up to a pretty decent level in CSGO. And
they're everywhere they're everywhere in shooters. There's not much you can do in shooters to combat it.
No.
KDO knows too much about this, kind of sus. I need to know how these works because I need to defend against them as best I can.
That's right. All right, so let's go to the next question. We've got a few more. We've got about 10 minutes left, but we'll get through as many as we can. When you talk about event-driven, do those events flow from client to server or to other clients within the sphere of visibility?
No, there's no implied direction to the events. So there are events for clients, there's events for servers, there's events that happen on the server that the clients subscribe to. The only thing that can't happen is client-to-client communication. This is a client-server model, so clients don't know about other clients directly. There's no connection between them. You only have a single connection between yourself and the server, and perhaps a chat server as well. So nice. That's the only exception, is there's never a message that goes directly from one client to another client. It always relays through the server for verification.
Gotcha. And this is from Zenix. I noticed TCP is now used for login authentication, which is fine while normal world traffic in-game is still using UDP. Are you guys going to be staying with UDP?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, and let's fire down. Joppa gave the okay to talk about all the stuffs. I don't think so.
Oh. So we could talk about dates and finances now?
Wow, phew, finally. I'll bring up my notes. All right, any pressure recently to move to Lumberjack?
Nope, none whatsoever.
When is Kyle going to change his Discord picture to VR like everyone else? Lol.
Yep, I need to make an account for that. Actually, I think Ben messaged me a couple weeks ago about that, and I just completely spaced it until someone dropped that in chat. I'm supposed to actually make another account. I joined on my personal Discord account. This is the account that I use for everything. This
me
is not
too.
My
I'm
VR
now
one.
locked out of everything else because I've now dedicated this Kilsin one to being in here. I now, even with my friends and stuff, I don't log in, and I've got the VR symbol, and it gets a lot of questions. But my guild as well.
That's what I was worried about. If I make another one, I'm never going to log into it. That's pretty much it. I'll just be one of the plebs down there, I think is probably how it's going to be. But I have to have the matching picture, so.
Yeah. Well, look, if you make an EG account and chuck in the VR, let me know, and I'll email you the VR logo so you can chuck it in, and I'll give you all the permissions and that setup.
Cool.
But you can just use it to log in for these kind of things or whenever we all jump in.
Yeah, that's probably what I'll do.
And then you can have KDO hidden for all your gamer stuff and rating and not have to worry.
Yep.
All right, so how difficult would it be to source community for art development type work on a pro bono basis, since a lot of mod community folks do similar graphical updates to games because they're passionate about it? I don't think I can answer this, but I know I can. It's more of a legal kind of matter. So taking any kind of work from a third party and putting it into a game like ours, there's a lot of legal implications around it for payment and stuff like that. So it gets pretty complicated. It's not as simple as just saying, hey, our fan has done this fantastic piece of work, we love it, we want to put it in our game, they said it's okay, we're going to give them a little bit of money or do this in return. It's not that simple. It's actually a lot more complicated than that legally. So it's just easier to do it ourselves. If we have a talented community member that is interested in art and they do stuff like that for other games or themselves or as a passion or hobby, please put your application in to show interest in the team. We're happy to look at talented people and take you guys on to be part of the team and making that art for us, but we can't really take that currently from third parties or outside the company. But if you're talented and you got some work to show off that you think will be suitable to Pantheon, by all means show your interest. If you go through
like Ben said, we're actually looking for a technical artist too. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Technical artists and whatever. We have some job positions available at the moment. So if you go to our webpage or even just put in a support ticket to show interest and give you details, the team will be in touch. Has Kyle developed role tools akin to class design to allow for fishing, etc.?
So the ability system that we've developed encompasses things like gathering, fishing, a handful of the other professions, not crafting, but a handful of the other types like herbalism, herb gathering, things like that we might have in there. That's all accounted for in the ability system that we've already got in place, the reworked one.
Yeah, nice, man. And mine has just said, don't fib, you use them. And I think they're talking about hacks.
No.
What's EG's favourite class so far?
Come
on, you know it's Rogue. Rogue's the best.
Nope. Warrior.
Oh, good call.
I really like the leap. Leap and charge were fun to use.
Yeah, nice, man. Where are we? Okay, so speaking of invisibility, I forgot to actually show myself. I'm currently invisible and not showing us online, so I will fix that. There you go. Whoops. Hence what I mean about being my main account. Like, I have to stay hidden when I play with my friends or talk on other servers. So, yeah. Even my guild never knows. I always get this Kilsin question mark to see if I'm around. It sucks.
See, I've got my Spotify hooked up to this account too, so if people watch VR staff will be able to see what I'm listening to, which is a little weird too.
Yeah, cool. Well, look, when you got time after this or after your raid or whenever the next couple of days, hit me up and I'll help you out with the VR logo and I'll give you a set up on here.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, so EQ has gems, WoW has Peggle and other add-ons for killing time in game. Will Pantheon have an in-game time killer? Also, can we have /pizza command?
I don't think I can answer that for an in-game time killer, but yeah, pizza command now on the to-do list.
Yeah, man, for sure. How do you feel about login servers capabilities when alpha players can log in or when the game opens up to beta? They say, I've never seen a game launch have a stable login server no matter the size of the company. What can you do about this?
This is actually one of the few pieces of tech that we have that I have virtually no hand in. So I can't really speak to how it will perform because I don't know what the code looks like. That being said, the people in charge of that know what they're doing. So I trust that we'll be just fine.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, we have lots of talented team members. We may be, lean and mean, but we have a lot of very talented and passionate people on the teams that do fantastic work. Wait, what have I done? I've moved back way too far. So, have you guys considered making a nice Discord icon for Pantheon for the users to show off Pantheon and other channels? We haven't much, but yeah, like I'm taking emojis off you guys. If you or half of the emojis put on here are from you guys just making them and sharing them. So if you've got something like that you want to put forward, let me know. But again, it can only be for this private Discord, and it's not official, and we can't take any money or pay for it or anything like that. So if you want to put something forward, I can run it by the team. Have you ever let yourself daydream about future ideas that might need to wait for yet to be determined expansion, knowing there is not time to get it in now? So I think for you personally, is there anything you've daydreamed about wanting to get into Pantheon down the track?
Yes. That's my answer. I don't think I can talk too much about that. Like, there's stuff that I want to see, but it's one of the reasons I joined the team. It's just I like MMOs. I want to see what the game is. There's ways that I personally want the game to go, but the game has its own identity already. I just fantasy stuff for me, really.
Yeah, nice, man. And we don't want to spoil it because it may come to fruition down the track. So
yeah, true.
Don't want to give our spoilers now. So the last question before we wrap up, spot on 10 o'clock, which would be fantastic. Can KDO add chat dice? And Jopper has said ideally... Oh, no. So can we add chat dice? So like a mini game in chat, in Pantheon. You know how you do a random 100 if you've got loot or something like that?
We've already got that in.
Yeah, cool. Actually, we do, yeah.
Yeah, you can already do that. Okay,
there you go, Mushy. All right. So it looks like that's it, man. We've got through everything right on time too. It's actually 9:59 a.m. So we're bang on the 1 hour mark. So I want to go ahead and say thank you very much, Kyle, for taking the time to join us today, man. It's very much appreciated.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
I know the guys, love hearing about all this back end stuff, and you're always hiding in the shadows and working so hard. It's good to bring you to the front and show you off a little bit. So look forward to having you on again soon, man. But thank you very much for that. And we'll wrap up here, guys. We'll go through as usual. I'll upload this within the next hour and release it to VIPs and champions. And then a week from today, I'll make it public and release it to everyone. Put it in the announcement channel so you can all talk about it. But again, thank you heaps, Kyle. It was a pleasure having you on, man.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Very much appreciated. There was huge support today. We really love seeing that. And we will see you next month. If you want to hang around, we'll have a chat for a little bit too off recording. But thanks, guys. Appreciate it.